Alright, so while this and last year were very different from movie theaters, we usually have lots of summer blockbusters to look forward to. I'm a big fan of going to the movies and love the summer blockbuster period. But why do these movies come out in the summer? You can go to the movies year round, and for the most part, people like to be outside during the summer. So what made studios decide to pick the summer months for their releases? Well, there's an interesting history behind this, and for a part of the answer, we have to go all the way back to the early days of cinema. In the early 1900s, Thomas Edison's motion picture patent company owned many rights regarding the film industry. The office was located in New Jersey and had a lot of influence on film studios, which, like the patent company, were all located on the East Coast at the time. The rules set by the patent company made it difficult to release movies, so to get away from the rules, many studios moved as far away as possible within the States. This is how by 1915, most of the studios had moved from the East Coast to the West Coast and settled their studios in what we know today as Hollywood. At this point in time, the movie theaters were popular, except during summertime when it was too hot in the theaters. However, in the 1920s, something changed for movie theaters when air conditioners were invented. Because of the big audiences, movie theaters were one of the first buildings to actually invest in air conditioning and use the machines heavily when advertising for people to see their movies. The once hot movie theaters were now a perfect place to escape the warm summer days. But air conditioning technology was not the only advancement that popularized movie theaters and contributed to Hollywood's golden age. Sound made its way into movies and revolutionized the medium of film into a whole new experience. By 1929, most movies were released with audio, and filmmakers found new techniques to improve their productions with multiple camera angles and cutting more frequently. All these contributions turned movie theaters into a booming business. Even during the Great Depression in the early 1930s, theaters were visited frequently, and over the next couple of years, popular movies like King Kong, The Wizard of Oz, and Gone with the Wind were released. But one thing didn't change during these times. The summers were not as spectacular as they are today with many big summer releases. This started decades later. After a long successful run, TV had caught up to Hollywood, ending their golden age in the 1960s. By 1995, many people had a television in their home, and TV shows were immensely popular. Hollywood was looking for new ways to get people back into theaters, and one movie knew exactly how to do that. In 1975, a new filmmaker by the name of Steven Spielberg created this movie called Jaws. Jaws was first and foremost a unique movie that established the formula of a good blockbuster movie, but it was also the first big movie to get a June release. Universal, the studio behind Jaws, went with a new way to promote their movie by spending a big marketing budget on television advertising. They created a 30-second ad which they aired on primetime television, actually giving away parts of the plot and letting the audience at home already get familiar with the characters. The original Jaws novel by Peter Benchley, on which the movie was based on, already had a successful run when it was released in 1974. The television campaign that Universal launched was a success. The summer of 1975 was the summer of Jaws, which became the highest grossing movie ever at that time. People lined up around the block of movie theaters to get tickets. This is also where the term blockbuster is based on. Many people saw the movie a second or even a third time in theaters. Jaws was released nationwide and broke the box office record of 86 million previously set by The Godfather. It did so within 87 days after its release, making $7 million in its first weekend, and Jaws also became the first movie to make $100 million domestically. The success of Jaws changed everything for the film industry, mostly how they would market their movies. The role television played in the return of going to the movie theaters was actually kind of ironic, because it was partly the reason why the golden age of Hollywood actually came to an end. With the television campaigns, the option for studios to open their movie nationwide was a new phenomenon. Usually a movie opened in a couple of cities and expanded from there. By using television advertising, the studios switched to nationwide releases of their movies. After Jaws, many new blockbusters followed, but there was one that made sure this new way of marketing would stay and even improved upon it. 20th Century Fox used Universal's Jaws release as a blueprint for their new franchise that you might be familiar with. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, or at that time just Star Wars, was released in May of 1977. And, well, we can all say that the franchise turned out pretty well. The first movie broke the box office record set by Jaws with $187 million in 6 months after its release, becoming the new box office king. The most important marketing tactic that Star Wars added to the television campaign strategy was using merchandise. Before Star Wars was even released, they had Alan Dean ghostwrite a paperback novel of the film called Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. With this paperback, they wanted to reach fans and let them get familiar with the world and characters. Adding toys and clothing alongside the novel made sure Star Wars was already a popular franchise before the movie was released. Ever since that successful television campaign and the impressive box office run of Jaws, Hollywood transformed and slowly created our modern-day blockbuster summer season, packing the summer with blockbuster movies, and these days even kicking off the season in March until late August with merchandise, partnerships, and other extras to boost a movie's performance. You could say that over these decades, it has become a tradition of going to big movies in the summer. In addition to television campaigns and merchandise, there's also a more practical option to go with summer releases. If you look at the calendar, you can see that there are a lot of vacations and holidays during the blockbuster season. Most of the holidays during these months are not big enough to stay home for a family dinner like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And the big summer break gives people plenty of time to check the latest movie in a comfortable and cool, although sometimes freezing theater. So will we go back to another full blockbuster summer in 2022? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Movie theaters obviously took a big hit in 2020 and 2021 when movie theaters had to close down. Streaming became the way to get access to new movies and basically took over the entire industry. But besides this, ticket sales of movie theaters have been steadily declining ever since 2002. This happened even before YouTube and streaming services were a thing. It's odd to think about because movies reaching $1 billion at the box office have become much more common since that year. As of right now, we have 45 movies with a worldwide box office of over $1 billion, with only 3 of them being from before 2002, Jurassic Park, Titanic, and Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Ever since the decline of ticket sales, movie theaters have been raising the prices of their screenings. Also, the use of more comfortable chairs or love seats and even more focus on food and drink should be doing the trick. The increase of IMAX screens, 3D and 4D experience all became a part of having less people pay more money to compensate for the loss in revenue of fewer sold tickets. But will this be enough for the near future? There will always be a big audience willing to go to the movies, but studios risk millions of dollars on possible flops. At the same time, most studios have their own streaming services or partnerships where they can make a profit by releasing lower budget content. Having people pay a monthly subscription over a longer period of time and even extra for a newly released movie like Disney Plus did with Mulan might be more interesting. The decline of ticket sales will probably continue and might go faster due to the large boost of streaming services in 2020 and 2021. I still remain confident that movie theaters will stay in business for a long period of time, but we just have to wait and watch. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up to let YouTube know that you liked it. This really helps out my channel, and like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm a big fan of movies and cinema and want to cover more topics related to this, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for my next video. I'm uploading a new one every week.